Hi, welcome to my comic room. And I'm assuming that I'm going to have to echo again because I'm in my living room. And I really want to laugh right now because I see my cat climbing up on a bunch of boxes. But I'm going to stay true to the course, do my best to do some editing with this video, even to the point where I'm going to pause here, which lasted about 5 seconds. And hopefully, if I did it right, I'll be able to edit it, cut it, and slip it back together. And you won't even notice other than, wait, I just told you I was editing it. Anyway, I have a comic book here, and this comic book is not my comic. I do have one that the United States Postal Service is supposed to deliver today. They're just not here yet. And it's amazing because I have all this time and nowhere to go, but all the other times where I have to go to work and I'm not waiting for a package, they're always here early. Yeah, anyway. So I do have a blade around here somewhere. There we go. I actually put it in my pocket. And this comic book was sent to me because the gentleman in question, a friend of mine, lives overseas. Which basically means he asked me if he can use my address to send me a few books. I'll get it together and I will ship it out to him. Now, it is a regular paper envelope, whoever sent it to me. I did not send priority mail, just regular USPS ground. However, we got some thick cardboard here. In fact, 2 pieces on each side. So I'm liking that. On top of that, as I'm looking for the comic book inside, I noticed that, at least on the sides, it's not moving. So basically, the cardboard is larger than the bag, board, and comic inside. So that's a good thing. Now, of course, I want to be careful. He did tape it on each side. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that I can puncture the tape without getting too close to the comic book itself. And at the moment, I am just doing the top layer so I can get rid of that. And maybe that'll make the bottom layer easier. Hey, look, an invoice. I even got a thank you. It says, thanks, Lee. And then I cannot read a signature. But, so now I have the top half off and it's still firm. So I'm really enjoying his packing abilities. Because let's face it, getting a comic book in the mail and it's beat to shit, it's kind of frustrating. And there we go. A comic book that's beat to shit. It's only because it's old. And it was purchased this way. But this is a Strange Stories of Suspense. This is issue number 11. So let's get rid of this. Put it over there. Let's take a pause. Dramatic effect. All right, guess who's joining me? You might see a little fur ball in a moment. Now, the bag and board is a Silver Age bag and board. I'm working here. And what I decided to do was put it into another one. I'm hoping that I have the right size. If not, I will get the right size. But it's a Strange Stories of Suspense. This is number 11. Now, one of the things that I could do is I can just rip the comic book out, but let's face it, I don't want tape pull. And I'm trying to pull the tape off and it ripped in half. But since it's going into a new bag and board, let's give it some new tape. Now, the book in question was purchased for reasons of, I have no idea. Maybe you just like the cover, and there is some spine roll, minor, but I'm looking at the interior and I'm wondering if everything is secure. There are a lot of spine creases, spine ticks, spine tears. It's pretty interesting. Strange Tales of Suspense right up here on the side. And there is some tanning along the sides. And you have to forgive me for counting the pages silently. So we got 8 pages to the center, so that's good. But I stopped at a store here, or only with my eyes, when the vault opens. A friend of mine, who is no longer with us, actually created a vault. So it's a nice little memory there. The staples look secure in the center, the interior. However, I don't know. Back to counting. And 8 to the end. So we're good there. Looks like there's a stain on the interior. There's some writing on the back. Wow. It looks like someone was trying to learn how to write cursive M's. So these are things that I'm hoping that I'll be able to take pictures of and then kind of put them in the center or down here. Maybe I'll go like this for the cover. And this way you can see what I'm talking about. There is some staple indentations. Definitely some like spine roll, so I'm going to try to show you that right there. And the pages are all there, so the book is complete, which basically means it's not going to get a 0.5. And I do like those 0.5s. I have an index card. I have a pen. And I have 2 guides that I like to look through as I go over a comic. Now, a lot of these things I can see, but I like to also get the idea of what a third-party company would also look at, including CGC, which is the larger guide, and the Overstreet's grading guide. I like them both, and I do have my own experience. So I'm just going to say real quick, I'm grading this as a very good minus. So we're talking about a 3.5 if it was third-party grading standards. But that's only as the quick look, because I might go up a little higher, I might drop a little lower. Now, CGC, when they grade the book, to my knowledge, they're supposed to have 3 people grading it. You have 2 graders and a finalizer. Now, I don't know if they just went down to 2 graders now to make it a little bit quicker, to streamline the process. I'm not fully sure. But a long time ago, when I talked to a few graders themselves, they did mention to me that it is a total of 3. The first one will grade the book. And, well, when he's done grading the book goes to the second grader. The second grader has no idea what the first grader graded the book at. Doesn't know what defects they looked at. Doesn't mention anything at all until the finalizer gets it. And to my knowledge, the finalizer won't see that either until he, well, finalizes it. So you had 3 people grading the book. If the first 2 people agreed and the finalizer agreed, bang, you got it. 3.5 across the board. But let's say the finalizer went for a 4 and the other 2 graders went for a 3.5 and a 3.5. The finalizer might look over those notes and then go, okay, 3.5 it is. Or maybe disagree and talk with the graders themselves and see what happens. And maybe that person will get a 4, like a Daredevil number 1. Or maybe it'll stay and retain a 3.5. It didn't. Anyway, so I'm kind of gonna write down the title, write down the year, and then I'm going to start grading the book. And maybe right here, I'll actually pause, or maybe I'll learn how to edit and speed it up. So, my OCD. I like to go in order of the defects. If I were just to write this, the first thing I would do is write about the spine, whether it's spine wear, spine creases, spine tears. Mainly because that's one of the first things I look at on modern age books, because that is usually what's wrong first. A lot of modern age books will not get that 9.8 because of a few ticks. And then if they're color breaking, forget it. Well, these are not only color breaking, they are indeed ripping as well. Some staple tears, tear there, so that hurts. You got some corner wear, no, corner damage maybe, not necessarily a crunch, dents, reader creases. So let's speed this up again or just cut. So, creases. As far as CGC is concerned, it gives it a wide range. And CGC has it under creases where a grade range can go from a 4.0 to a 9.8. And I don't know, if I see something on a 9.8 with a crease, should it be a 9.8? That could be a video for something else. Let's get back to this because the low grade is a 4.0 and there are so many creases on this book that throws it into that VG range. I don't see it getting any higher than a VG. Okay, I looked up, timer said 20 minutes and 4 seconds. Whether that'll be there when I actually edit or whether it'll shrink a little bit. I just looked through this comic book. I wrote down what I thought were the main issues for that, or rather all the issues. The book is old. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, 1956? 1956, October of 56. So it's up there in age. I mean, what? We're talking about 70 years? God damn. So now what I'm going to do, well, I'm going to put in a new bag and board, although I think I'm going to wait just a second before I get that fresh one. So I'll put it back in the old one. So this way, God forbid, I drop it. And I will also figure this out. So I mentioned a very good minus. There are items on here that just add up, but just because it adds up does not mean it's a lower grade. If something can be a 5, it will be a 5. If something can be a 6, it will be a 6. However, if something's going to drop it under there, that's the trouble. Stains could be very huge on books. I have a beautiful, amazing, wonderful Submariner issue that's an 8.5. That if it didn't have a stain, probably would have hit a 9.4. But that stain really dropped the grade. In this case, though, the stain that's on here won't drop that grade because it's already such a low grade. So I'm going to stick with that very good minus / very good. And we'll see if that when I finally ship this to my friend, and you should check out his YouTube channel, he's Mr. McGroovy, and we'll see if he actually gets this in and goes, wow, Lee's right, or Lee doesn't know what he's talking about. This is definitely a place entry here. So I'm going to get this all in a nice bag and board for him. I'm going to use a polyethylene terephthalate or a PVC type of plastic. In other words, Mylar. These are going to be acid-free and should never have to be changed ever again. In fact, when I first started doing these videos, and if you head on back, I had so much trouble saying polyethylene terephthalate. In fact, I'm probably still pronouncing the terephthalate wrong because it should be terephthalate. Anyway, I'm just saying it again and again because I like the fact that I can say polyethylene terephthalate. So, thank you very much for watching. If you liked my content, please subscribe, please hit the like button, and definitely please comment. What are some of the defects that you can't stand? Mine are rusty staples. And in this book, staples look pretty good. I mean, yes, there are some staple tears, but it's not caused by rust. And let's face it, the book is 70 years old. I'm sure it's been read over and over and over again, which I might actually do before I ship it out. Because how many times do you get to read a book that's that old? So thank you for watching. Collect what you love, and most importantly, be kind.